gotta leave it to the professionals.
Blessed by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Car era lore. Call me Levi playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock, and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Refuse not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in suits, yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain. GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We greatly appreciate it. Warms up the algo, lets everyone know we're here. We're also live over on Abstract as well as the YouTube streets. The best GMers drop those GMs and all those chats. We're live on Steve's X video feed and Steve's Abstract today. And as always, I'm Cap Jim, my co-host Steve. Never any financial advice on the show. Crypto is risky, NFTs are risky, meme coins exceptionally risky. Go to 0 to moment's notice. Please never put any money in you can't afford to lose. And know that Steve and I likely hold tokens we'll talk about from time to time here today, including decent allocations for DOOD, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a bit. But sorry, some weird comments in the chats. I think we got the bots out already. So again, thanks so much for joining us. Drop us those GMs. We'll get things warmed up and hit the reminders on those carousels if you've not already done so. I don't even know if I linked that up top, a little out of it this morning, but it is up there. So go smash that like, repost, and bookmark, and we'll get things rolling. GM, Steve, how you doing, sir?
GM, doing all right. I think a couple things. One, I'm going to hope, let me know if you hear an echo, because last night, for no apparent reason, my charging port to my iPhone, which also has my headphones in it, busted. So actually, I'm going to probably move my phone across the room here in a second, because even though I have the volume all the way down, I'm going to see if I turn the volume all the way down without it plugged in. Yeah, trying that. Nope, doesn't work. So I'm probably gonna have to move my phone across the room, so there might be a little bit of echo. So that's fun. So I got to go through Apple Care sooner than later. Frosty, thank you for the tip. Appreciate that right off the rip this morning. All technology is weird though. there is probably about 7 GMs, I don't know, 5 to 7 GMs in the abstract chat. Teacher Katie, Mesh, Thomas, yourself, Rocky. We got an ETH address in there, Be Epic, Rare Ed, Green Edge, all of our good friends. Frosty's in there. And it has, now it jumped up to 10 watching. It had me as 4 watching. So it's, the tech is a little funky. Like I said, I'm probably going to move my phone across the room. Last night, I just went to plug it in and it just stopped working, which is so not fun. Because, that's one of the things that does happen with Apple phones. I'm just going to double check. There's nothing I could do to fix it. But in the meantime, that's seeming to be a problem with my phone. So dealing with some tech issues this morning. We also have dealing issues with the X spaces. So retweet, and comment on the room. We hit the GMs on the YouTube and X chats, Bordo Saka, Machiavelli, RDL, and Von Front. Appreciate that. But really anybody hitting us on the space with a retweet, comment, and a bookmark, we do appreciate it. Because spaces have been less and less discoverable. Not sure how they tinkered with the algorithm, but it's not good. Machiavelli, Mel, GM, Dobbins out there, Clay, Aspiring Nobody, Riz Bryant, Ark Invest, General Wags. I just realized, I don't know if Dobbins has done coffee with Captain Route, but if he hasn't, and maybe he has, but if he hasn't, we should actually get him on the stream next week if he's up for it, because a Dobbins Tuesday would be a good Tuesday. Maria, Teacher Katie, Dort, Joey Val.
RDL is another one. We should probably do a coffee with Captain at some point. I don't think
it's actually criminal that we haven't done one with RDL. He is a friend and a good one. So totally agree with that. Yeah, I'm looking at my phone. It's just frustrating when you can't have you ever had that happen on your iPhones? The charging port goes down, and there was a period of time when I just didn't bother getting it fixed, and I just elevated the charging port on a book slightly, and it would still charge because it was touching the charge area or whatever.
So yes, I've done this. Last venture was building a chain of about 500 repair stores that did this. It was one of our most common repairs was charge ports. It's screens and charge ports.
You've heard of it.
Yeah. But there are some, it's probably the hardware is after a while they will break, they'll loosen up, and it's sounds like as you describe it, sounds like a hardware issue. You probably need a new charge port itself. But there are some, get some isopropyl rubbing alcohol, try to clean it out good. You can, rubbing alcohol, preferably 91% or greater, but rubbing alcohol won't hurt it at all. Try to clean it out. You might just have some crud in there. There might be some stuff on the connectors. It might get it working a little better. It sounds like you do need it replaced at some point, but I'd take some rubbing alcohol to it today and see if that'll clean it out.
It's probably my biggest contention with iPhones in general.
I can't tell you how many times we'd have people come in and be like, "Oh, my charge port's broken. I need a new charge port." Our tech would go in the back. They'd clean out the charge port with some rubbing alcohol and a toothbrush, and 5 minutes later, they'd be like, "Oh, what are you?" And we're like, "Just give us a Google review. We didn't. It's a simple clean."
It's interesting because it's probably my biggest contention I have with the iPhone in general is I love my iPhone, but every iPhone I've had has had, not everyone, but I've had enough with this issue that it's I don't know if this is an Android problem too, or if it's unique to Apple, but
actually much worse with Android. Actually, the old, especially the old micro. I mean, now they're all the same charge port, but the old micro USB ports, those were notoriously bad. Those Samsung, those S4s and S5, they would break all the time, and that was a bad one because you actually had to, at least the older ones, you actually had to micro solder a new charge port on. So Samsungs were notoriously bad for a while. I don't think it's as much of an issue anymore, but
yeah, I mean, the downside of this is I host a weekly space for OCM where I use wired headphones, which means I probably need to have it on speaker the whole time, or I need to get it fixed tonight. So not a fun one. But yeah, it's just, probably
that's a downgrade. I like the headphone jack in the phone. I don't I'd rather they bring it back. I don't want to have to use a dongle or adapter. It's maybe also in my mind because I caught some clip this morning about how AirPods, which I have in my ears probably 8 to 10 hours a day.
Oh, this is the electromagnetic thing. I don't know if it's junk science or not, but go ahead.
The equivalent of the radio frequencies are the same as coming out of a microwave. So it's basically putting your head in a microwave for 8 to 10 hours a day is what the junk science take said. So reevaluating my life decisions there if I should just go wired all the time.
Yeah, no, I sometimes I have a friend I know who will bring the latest Joe Rogan junk science to me anytime they hear it. And I'm like, all right, let me look this up. And I'm like, all right, you probably have about a 45% hit rate. So that's good. So I try to
do you wear AirPods a lot?
I do all the time. all
Yeah.
the time.
Like if they come out bad for you, like I'm screwed.
Yeah, I'm completely screwed if AirPods are bad for you, because for the past however long, 10 years at this point, I have been.
I might be just pot committed at this point and just say screw it. Like if they come out bad, I'm already toast anyways. I may as well not fight it.
If they come out bad, I would change, but I'm waiting for like real signs, because here's the thing. If they really are bad, I would be shocked if Apple didn't take some sort of action about it, because they don't want to have the liability of giving a bunch of people brain cancer or whatever it is that they're saying this is going to cause. Like I don't think that Apple would say like, oh, you know what? AirPods are pretty profitable. They would just sell you a new headphone and tell you why it's better and do a commercial about like a grandpa and a grandma and their kids at Christmas with the same product, and everyone would go buy it because they're so good at like hitting on emotions there. So yeah, you know what? I'm not going to share my Junk Science Joe Rogan story. Maybe I'll share off air. I had a very bizarre Joe Rogan junk science moment that I don't even feel comfortable sharing on air, because I think that people will think I'm absolutely out of my mind. But I'll share it with you off air if we remember after the show.
You know, I meant to say something Monday over the weekend. Weekends like when I go off on my like out of my pod rotation and we'll listen to some things I don't normally do. I'll like hunt for an interview. I think I shared that Chris Williamson, who I wasn't familiar with until he went on. He did the Rogan interview and that popped and I saw it. And I was like, oh, this guy. So I caught a couple and I saw he had that Douglas Murray on, who I had never heard of before. I thought it was a like atrocious interview on Rogan. It was like the polar opposite on Chris Williamson. Like, oh, this guy's a reasonable human being. Like he's like, what is it? Like what happened there? Like you listen to the guy, so you know him better than I. It's like really, it was profound how my impression of Douglas Murray, the first time I ever heard the guy was on Rogan. And it was like, wow, this guy is just not it. And like, just like how he was like how he was talking, like not even forget the subject, like what they're talking about. Just like his, I don't know if it was like condescending is the right word, but just like was not someone I enjoyed listening to at all. I was like, this is a train wreck of an interview. And then I listened to him on Win. So like, oh, this guy's pretty sharp. Like just not even the same person. What happened there?
Well, so there's two things. There's a lot of things that are in play here. So number one, by the way, I actually like Joe Rogan podcasts. I listen all the time. So this isn't meant to be a knock on Joe Rogan when I said the Joe Rogan Junk Science. It's like he'll have some people on, but there's a couple that like I question at times, but there's a lot of things in play here. So I think how you interview someone matters, right? I think Chris Williamson is a tremendous interviewer. I think Lex Friedman's even a little better, but I think that there's a couple things that happen there. I think one, he walked into an arena with two very quick on their feet comedians who have an answer for everything. Two, I do think that Joe Rogan had a preconceived notion. He brought him on to give him the space, but he also had a preconceived notion about his opinion on what Dave Smith, his friend, was saying versus what Douglas Murray, this guy who was saying what was the aversion there. And frankly, I think Douglas Murray came in with a chip on his shoulder, because I was talking to someone about this the other day, a person you and I actually both know pretty well from the club, actually. And she's like really brilliant and working on a project right now where she's an expert, and there's a lot of bad science around the thing she's working on. And I was having a conversation with her about it, and I made this comment about how frustrated I am with the death of the expert class. And because people are like, oh, well, there are some doctors who are wrong about COVID. It's like, they're like about certain things with COVID for that matter. And it's like, okay, so that's your contention, but actually it's the opposite, right? During COVID, people are like, well, all the doctors were wrong. Like, well, no, they weren't. There was a very strong political agenda, but actually the people who were shut down were experts. There were people who were, Stanford and Harvard and Yale doctors who were saying certain things about COVID that are now known to be true that were being shoved down. And so it was medical experts. It's just we didn't listen to the full scope of the expert class on that one. And the death of the expert class is crazy because you have people who are these autodidacts who just, want to learn and do their own thing. And that's cool. Like, that's how I am with a lot of things. But to act like somebody who went to school or someone who's been on the ground is bad is bad. So I think Douglas Murray went in with a chip on his shoulder, basically being like, yo, man, you disproportionately platform people who don't know what they're talking about. Like, they push back on one point where there's this guy, Daryl Cooper, they've had on, who repeats points from a guy who is not cool. And an expert would know when he's repeating those points, which are not great, but a Joe Rogan or a Dave Smith might not know that. And I think that frustrated someone like a Douglas Murray. But you know what's funny about you liking Chris Williamson on Joe Rogan is Chris Williamson has said since then he was going through some personal things. He had brain fog. He was sick. He had Naval Ramakant on his show one day, and then in the same week he was on Rogan. He's like, the worst week of my life to do this. And he considered that, interview on Rogan to be bad because he felt like he wasn't his full self. But I'm glad you discovered him because I think he is a good interviewer. And I think what he does and what Lex Friedman both do tremendously well is Chris Williamson and Lex Friedman will, I sort of go to the same school of thought here, where I'll have people who, when I'm interviewing them, being like, why aren't you asking the Doodles team this tough question? I'm like, I'm going to ask them that question in a way that lets them answer it honestly, not in a way that I'm attacking them, not in a way that they're on the fence. And I think Williamson and I think Joe Rogan's asked good inquisitive questions, but he hasn't necessarily researched as much going into it, which is okay. Like he used that parachute of, hey, I'm a fight expert and a comedian. And that was Douglas Murray's contention versus I think Williamson and Friedman will have a list of questions and they will have done their full research. Like you can't bring on someone to talk about the Roman Empire and Lex Friedman without him being like, wait a minute, I don't know if that's right about Cicero, right? Like he's done this level. And I think that that's what I like about those two is they will ask the tough questions. They will put people in tough spots, but they will do so in a way that lets them answer as honestly as possible. And you get the most raw answer. The analogy I always make is like, nobody likes when, a basketball player or a football player comes after the game and they're like, both teams played hard. They like real answers. I think that Williamson and Murray get really good real answers and have the ability to push back where they've done their research. Does that make sense? Like as far as interviews go?
Yeah. Well, and I think even like on the Murray Rogan one, it was like, I don't know if like he was like, it was almost he came into it on the defensive. He came into it like just really snarky and like chip on like maybe it was chip on something. It was just like I can't remember last time I was like became aware of someone and then the second time I heard them or listened to something they did, it was like, is this even the same person? Like it was almost a 180. Like my impression of him went from someone I have no interest in listening to anything they say to like, oh, I'll probably pay attention. Like it was profound change in my impression of someone based on
it's almost to make an analogy. Think about the coin this stuff versus the Jesse video he put out last week. It was like you would see the like coin this stuff and bases for pimping and squirting and all the things he was promoting like a week and a half ago and be like, who is this guy? And then last week you watch his video talking about the strategic importance of social media as it matters towards decentralized social media. And you'd be like, whoa, these are two different people. And Mesh's point is I think Murray gets accused of a lot of things. Like he gets accused of Islamophobia and all these other things. And so he has these things where he comes in on the defense. I think to your point, he almost doesn't care about what people think about him sometimes to a fault. Meaning like if he had come in and wanted to, in a friendly way, explain, hey, Joe, you platform the wrong people, he probably could have done so that Rogan was receptive to. But I think he kind of came in attacking Rogan and Smith in that way. I don't think he was wrong, but I think that the way he went about it, I've said this a bunch of times. Like I was actually just talking to someone offline about this. There's somebody else we both know in Web3 who rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Somebody recently that, you'll figure out who I'm talking about if I go into further detail, but somebody who has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And I can separate oftentimes this person is really smart and has really good opinions, but the way that they go about it doesn't go over super well. And I was talking to this person about it because I thought to myself, like how you deliver stuff matters. And I know sometimes people say like, no, it's, you ignore the delivery and understand what's being said. I'm pretty good at breaking those down. So are you. I think a lot of people, they hear the delivery and they get upset when they're like, wait a minute, at a base level, what are you saying here? It's like when someone critiques me, if they're being a total jerk about it, but I can understand there's a kernel of truth there, I can take that feedback. If they're critiquing me and they're just being a dick about it, though, like most people will say like, oh, like I can't even read through that. So it's funny. Actually, Mesh brought up Jonah. This wasn't who I was referring to, but that's another great example. I think Jonah is really smart. I think he gives really great insights. I really enjoy when he joins the stage. A lot of people are turned off by his demeanor and his tone. So the delivery of things matters because I know I hear people saying like, oh, Jonah this, Jonah that. And I'm like, look, I mean, the guy is doing real work in Web3. He's smart. He knows what he's talking about. He's an expert on his niche. He's crushing it with his clients. But I think sometimes the way he delivers things, people are like, all right, do I need like the R word for the 4th time in a place that's unnecessary? And they don't like that. And so, again, I am a Jonah enjoyer, but it's a great example of like how delivery matters.
How you say
Versus that
is often more important than what you say.
Because I think if you broke down what Murray said when he turned you off and came in on the defensive, you'd be like, all right, does Joe Rogan disproportionately give these people voices? Kinda. And does he not push back when it matters? Kinda. And is it tough when somebody like says something wrong and says, well, I'm just a comedian? Kinda. Like, so I think like those points that he was making was good, but how he delivered them was in such an asshole-ish way that it just threw people off. So that would be my general assessment on that. But I'm glad you listened to the Williamson one because they go way back, actually. Like he had Murray on like before either of them were nearly as big as they are now. He was one of his early guests, I think, when they were both in the
what is Murray's core thing? What is he like, how would you describe him? What is he?
I would call him a historian and a journalist.
Like
he's someone like he's sort of like my brother, but a different path. Like where like my brother read every history book you could think of. When we went to Washington, D.C. with my younger brother when he was like 9 years old, he gave us a walking tour of Washington, D.C. and told us all the different fun facts. And I think that Murray has that historical perspective on a deep, deep level. But I would also call him a journalist because he actually embeds himself across the sea in different things. And Mesh brings up also, Doug Murray he calls it a middle-class English accent. I actually find that really interesting. I was talking to this. I will say it's nice you said middle class because he doesn't have the accent. Like Mesh will know this one. The Newcastle accent where it sounds like you're asking a question all the time. When you're asking a question, when you're talking about me making a point, like, you know what I'm talking about, Mesh? It's like, no offense, by the way. I love Newcastle and the tune and all those people. I just, it's interesting that we think of English accents as English accents, but as I got to know British soccer and particularly in some British reality TV, I started to know like where people come from and what they are. So in any case, good call, Mesh. But give us a like, a retweet, and the comment on the room. Mesh knows what I'm talking about. Mesh knows what me talking about. And they also, instead of me, they'll be like, you're talking about, it hurts us when you say that. They'll do the us thing instead of saying I or me. Anyway, that's it's cultural things. It's not meant to be knocking my friends across the pond. I actually would love a British accent. I think I'd be way more credible. Like Chris Williamson with a British accent. If you take away his British accent, I'm like, I don't know if I believe this guy as much. But Cap, I know we have a lot going on this morning, Web3 related. I know you were going to do a little bit of research on the Ethereum upgrade. I have not done any research on the Ethereum upgrade, so I could not tell you what that's all about. We got a bunch of DOOD stuff to talk about. I think they did a really good job, but I saw some consternation on the timeline that we have to probably talk about of whether it was a miss or not. New Hampshire, a day after we talk about the Bitcoin bills, New Hampshire says, hold my beer. Did not have New Hampshire on my bingo card for the early Bitcoiners. The most mixed up state with its friend Vermont in the United States somehow is the first one to come across. Although I suppose all those Midwest, East, West Coast states might have that are sort of square would have an argument there. And then, the ETH upgrade, as I mentioned, is the other thing on my card. A lot of people, by the way, I like how smart our audience is, or at least how much I agree with like sort of their perspective. Tom is saying people sometimes hate when the truth is exposed. Like, I think we have a really intelligent audience that discerns well and kind of sees the signal versus the noise. So I thought that was interesting because to your point about like, before we move on, that Murray interview, if you look at comments on any Rogan Murray content, all of them are just 98% slamming how Douglas Murray's an idiot and this, that, and the other. And I think that the average person sees the demeanor and shuts it down. I think a discerning person can kind of see the difference there. But where do you want to start, Cap?
I'm guessing DOOD is probably going to be a little more deeper conversation and probably get some other people chiming in. So do you want to save that? I'm good to go in any direction. You said what is on your tick list? We got DOOD, we got the Pectra upgrade. What else did you say?
New Hampshire signing a bill, slapping down on Florida. But those are my main ones. So I'll let you, if you want to go ETH upgrade, I have done no research on this. I am not on the technical layer. I'm not sure what the upgrade entails. I did see a post in the timeline from a dev saying Ethereum needs to stop using like 2015 tech arguments or something. So I don't know if that was a knock on this upgrade, but do you have any idea what this upgrade is going to do for us?
Yeah, I do, but let's do this because I'd rather let me pull up some good threads that I can share and know that you'll know it's not me talking, but rather much more technically sound individuals explaining it. Oh, it's live.
Would this
It's
explain?
live. Yeah, it went live at 10:05 UTC. So Pectra is, well, take that back. I was going to have you do the New Hampshire thing, but we can just jump right into Pectra now, and then we'll come back to that. Yeah, this is from the ETH Foundation. It is live on mainnet. So here's the big bullet points. Smart account wallet UX features now active. This is probably worth diving into what we will now be able to do just with our existing wallets. By the way, if anyone is deep in the technical streets and would like to better explain this update, feel free to jump up on stage.
We may have someone coming up, by the way. Bludex, a local friend in the Cleveland area might be able to do that. But Cap, read through this, and then maybe we'll go over to him.
So there's something to do with the data storage blobs increased by 2x. I guess this will help L2s. I didn't we mentioned this in the past. I didn't realize how close we were getting up against like an L2 performance issue. But this I guess should extend any, give them the runway they need to continue things working smoothly on the L2 side. Validator UX improvements live, and then also with that they increased the validators. You can previously you could only stake 30. You had to stake 32 ETH. Now it's up to a little over 2,000. A little over 2,000 ETH you can stake on one validator. So I will. I'll pull some other threads. We'll see if Bludex, if you want to jump in on this, feel free to help educate us further. GM, thanks for jumping up. I don't hear Bludex. Can you?
I do not. You there, Greg? You gotcha? Maybe
Looks
not.
Like
we can.
Yeah, looks like off mute, but I'm not getting any audio. Maybe
I got none as well.
Maybe try one more time coming off mute, and if that doesn't work, take a lap, leave the room, and come back, and we'll give it another go.
No luck on Greg. All right, we'll get back to that. So give me the TLDR as you understand it again one more time.
A blob enhancement. So it's going to help L2 performance. You're able to stake a lot more now, from 32 up to like 2,000. And I think the big one is every wallet, including existing ones, became a smart wallet. So let me see if I can find it. Was the Georgia Boy had a good tweet on it yesterday too. I'll go grab that. Here's one from Consensus. Just went live. Smart account. So your wallet now becomes a smart wallet. You can do like batch transactions and sponsor gas and other things there. That one is probably the one we're diving a little deeper. Enterprise grade staking. So again, if you're an institutional staker, you don't have to have 100 validators, 100 nodes to stake 3,200 ETH. You can do it off 2 now.
By the way, for people watching on stream, is there ever a more dudes who look like they work in crypto? There's like one guy with a suit jacket, then there's a guy with a zip up hoodie, this guy with a t-shirt that fits somewhat well, but as there would be with me, there's some room in the arms because I haven't been doing my arm day quite as much. They had another guy who was wearing just like, hey, there's this guy who's like, I think that might be Lululemon with Lululemon underneath it. So this is like this video, just watching people through, like, is there ever a more stereotypical cryptocurrency video when looking at these people? Like, these are, like, I would walk in the way that like a dog walks into like a doggy daycare. Look at this guy. Like a dog walks into a doggy daycare and they're like, okay, these are my dogs. I get it. Well, if I walked into a room with these guys, I'd be like, that's my people. That's my people. Like, not a single one of them, except for one guy is where there's like I actually had a discussion today, Cap. Question for you, actually, while we're on this topic. It's kind of cold open-ish, but as we're doing this, I know I'm taking us off track of the actual real news. If you were going into a job interview at a Fortune 500 today, for example, like if you said like, look, I think I want to go back and lead Web3 division of Fortune 500, would you wear a suit? Would you wear a hoodie? Would you go with a button up? Like, how do you handle that? Because I was like talking to it and Dawn was like, I don't know. When I went in to, interview for my job, I was looking for a day job. I wore a suit jacket. I was like, right. But I feel like I wear hoodies day to day. Like, it feels like when I used to do interviews for jobs, it was like I wore button-ups day to day. I wear hoodies and sweatpants. Like, what does that look like for you?
I would just match the environment. I mean, if it's an environment everyone there is wearing suits, then I would at least throw on a jacket. If it's
Look
more
at this
ca-
guy. Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
I would just match the environment. I'd go either way. I can clean up or I can stay casual. I'm fine either way. It doesn't really bother me. But
look, this guy's got a graphic tee on. Sorry, go ahead. I love it. No, it's just like it's a weird vibe because it's like, what does that environment look like, and how do you kind of determine that? It's a weird thought when you work in Web3 and you have this warped vision. Because when I was in casual dress code in general, like kids at school nowadays, they wear hats, they wear leggings and hoodies. A lot of them basically wear pajamas to school. It's like it's a whole different environment than it was like a fashion show when I was in middle school. It's very different from what I can see from pajama pants are the new business casual. I agree with Thomas. Rare Ed actually trying to bring us back on track. Stephen Cap, do you feel that thrill that I feel? Such an amazing tech being shipped that is quickly closing the gap in years of cumbersome onboarding to crypto.
I'm sorry. We actually have a bigger actual real thing that we should notice. But what was the question?
Oh no, I was just saying Rare Ed was throwing out some love, getting us back on track, saying, do you feel the thrill of such amazing tech being shipped that is quickly closing the gap of years of cumbersome onboarding to crypto?
This one is a big one too. No more approve and confirm loops. No more double signing for every action. So reducing a click, that's big. I mean, how they've summed it up is it is technical. It's going to make it work better. So it's not something that's like, oh, this is exciting, but it's just smoother. The UI is improving, fewer clicks. I mean, how many people, especially the Solana fanboys that talk about, oh, why do I have to prove this transaction? And then, the double signing ins, smarter wallets, they used to just hold keys. Now they get a brain. Let's normal wallets act like smart contracts. You can batch transactions, skip approval pop-ups, pay gas in a token, less friction, more freedom, more possibilities. By the way, paying gas in a token, I minted that free mint on OpenSea yesterday. Paid for it with Ape. Paid for like a minute amount of gas in Ape. And I don't remember what chain it actually minted on.
It was on AVAX, but you did it through MetaMask, huh?
Super smooth. One quick transaction. And this sort of stuff and the ability to just go multi-chain, not have to bridge. Like, we've really made some tremendous advancements in the overall ability to use and interact with crypto in the last few years. It's just not the stuff that's it's not going to get people not here excited, but it's going to help a lot when those people do get here. Much more likely that they get here, they interact on chain, and they don't even realize it anymore. Or it's as easy to interact on chain as it is to set up a Gmail account.
Yeah, I mean, infrastructure is important. Like, people want things to be easy, and they've come to make things really easy. And unfortunately, crypto is a great underlying base layer for so many applications and things we do and improves so many industries. The problem is it came along when we have the greatest UX in history, or the easiest UX in history, with a lot of our products and services we use on a regular basis. So I think, like, to your point, like, that part is hyper important, but we maybe don't give it the credit or love it deserves because we're so used to being like, oh, well, we deal with all this stuff and it's a better, better technology. The problem is, yes, it can be a better technology, but what you're missing is the fact that, we complain if my Amazon package, like, I had an Amazon package I ordered recently that took, I think, 3 days to get to me because it was like an item that like wasn't Amazon Prime, that wasn't fully in stock and whatever. And I was like, what kind of poor customer service is this? We used to order something and just wait 2 weeks for it. That's why you would say, like, I'd rather just go to the store back in the day, right? Like, because you would go to the store and get it instantly. Now Amazon's like, all right, well, you're either going to get it today, or maybe at most you're going to wait and you're going to get it tomorrow. But like, that's worst case scenario. And so I think, like, yeah, like, you can't have something like an ETH, like a any sort of chains, even layer 2s taking even a split second, because you're like, why isn't this happening instantly? And I think because I mean, again, consumers today, especially like the younger consumers, they didn't grow up where you had to connect to the internet through a large cackling sound on a phone line and wait 13 minutes to download a single picture of like your favorite like sports moment, right? But like, you did back then. So I think all of the upgrades truly matter in that sense, in that it helps us get to a place where it makes the technology usable for everybody. and helps actually lay out the foundation for the future there. So I don't know. I'll park it there, but that sort of would be my take on the overall upgrade and why it's good, and agree that like it's not the sexiest thing, but we don't pay enough attention to the importance of infrastructure and how it ultimately impacts on adoption and onboarding. Because what company wants to push out a product to its customers? Like, just to use an example for something like, you know, that I've been involved with. I mean, think about like Starbucks Odyssey. Their siren drop had an issue with the cocktail of connections of things that went together. Their siren drop got basically like wigged out, didn't happen well. Like, you know, it was like people were getting error messages. That's not what people are used to in today's day and age. Even in a sneaker drop, you're used to being like, oh, well, I missed it because I didn't click quick enough. So I think that like this stuff is important. And I think for us, it's like, we're not going to dive into the technical layer and tell you all the applications or why it matters. We could bring on someone who's technical who does. But to me, that's the importance of it, is to make things more scalable and more usable.
Yep. Indeed. And this one, there was 11 EIPs included in this update. That's the most ever, I believe. Benji here calls it this. Think of this like the iPhone moment for wallets. Today, wallets are kind of basic. They can't do much beyond sending transaction. This EIP lets today's EOA wallets act like smart wallets, batching multiple actions into one transaction. Example, bridge and execute a swap, or buy a punk and then send it to Benji.eth in one transaction. Conditional payments, pay only if this happens. I want to dig more into this eventually, because I think this could be like not just subscriptions, but I think you could do a lot more with smart payments here. Conditional payments, sponsored transactions, someone else pays the gas for you. Apps and wallets can get really creative with this. Again, a lot of technical stuff. I'm not going to bore everyone trying to read through all this, but I did pin the link if anyone is super technical and would like to really dive deep. There's a few pinned posts up top to for all your reading pleasure.
Yeah, I by the way, I love the little thing in there. He's like, for example, if someone wants to buy a punk and send it to Benji.eth in one transaction, that was kind of gave me a little bit of a chuckle there. But no, it's cool stuff. And it's like I said, like to me, like this is like, it is so hard being on the front lines of something, because I think it's well within the range of possibilities that in the next 5 years, every single company has things built on the blockchain that makes sense for them as a company. They're using the blockchain in some way. But at the current state of where we're at, people are looking at it and saying, oh, well, this is trash, or this doesn't matter. And it's like, when you're in it day to day, it doesn't feel like it's happening quickly. And I keep saying this with technology. It's like, to anybody who, I'll use myself as an example. If you were doing HTML websites in 1996, it didn't feel quick to get to like 2007 and 2008 when people started using Blogspot, or, you know, Squarespace in the mid 2010s when it became really popular. Like, it didn't feel quick. 20 years does not feel quick to me for my HTML, where if I had one / instead of backslash, the whole website was code. But this is like one of those things where I think it will feel a lot quicker come the future, when we actually see where we net out here, and you know, in the future when this stuff helps. So this is what matters, and it really does highlight the importance of day-to-day builders over total hype that comes out of this space sometimes, because this is a day-to-day building thing that feels boring, but it's actually massive as things move forward when I hear those upgrades and how they make things better and easier and more seamless. So big fan to see the ETH team continuing to make upgrades. And also, let's be honest, working a little bit hard for our ETH bags there, in the sense that we got ETH ETFs and ETH, ETH bags sitting in our pockets right now that we're hoping to see continue to go upward. So I don't know, Cap. It's good stuff, and I'm glad we hit on it, because seeing those upgrades makes me feel entirely better about the direction of ETH. And I don't know. I think there's this intentionally reductive take that people like to put on the timeline, where they're like, ETH is worthless, ETH sucks, ETH to zero. Like, it's fun to make the little jokes here and there, but there are people who are like, I don't know, like Solana is the only thing that matters because it's so like, or this is, it's just like, guys, like ETH matters, layer 2s matter. And it's important to realize how Ethereum scales and how it's going to scale to people. And like, we don't have to make it like tribalism over. You know how stupid it sounds to be tribalistic over chains to people outside of crypto? Like, do you know how dumb it sounds to be like, I'm an Ethereum maxi over a Solana maxi, or I'm a Bitcoin maxi? You know how dumb that sounds to people outside of crypto? The answer is really dumb. Because it's all the same sort of layered technology in different ways. And I think it's important to understand the difference and understand how it helps us. So anyway, I'll park the bus there, but that's my take.
What I didn't see if I don't know, Bludex, if you want to give it a go again. Check.
We got you back, Greg? I still got nothing.
Yeah, same. Yeah, he's gonna maybe take a lap, and we'll see. We'll give it
I would close the space, shut Twitter down for like 15 seconds, and then come back in. Hopefully, he heard all of that when I said it, because that's the thing that we run into. But we'll see if he gives a take on this, because he is a scholar and a gentleman, and one of the smarter people you will meet in this space, who's actually doing some pretty cool work to continue to move things forward.
Hey, we got you now.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My hands-free set in my car just did not work with X Spaces. So anyway, yeah, I figured I'd hop on and chat about this, because I actually had to update my Ethereum validator this morning to this upgrade. And professionally, my day job is actually supporting some of the largest Ethereum staking environments out there. I can't unfortunately reveal who the client names are, but you've definitely heard of them and might have already mentioned them today. So you mentioned a lot about the account abstraction wallet benefits, which I think you did a really good job. I think you hit on all the things that matter there. I would say the one other thing that is really neat is the social recovery mechanisms, where because
awesome.
private key.
Yeah, I'm glad you're hitting on this, because I saw it as a feature. I have no clue how it works, and especially how we would able to get social recovery on an existing wallet. It makes more sense like on a new wallet, but am I understanding that like I could get social recovery on my existing 5-year-old, ETH wallet, or no?
You should be able to, yes.
How's it even possible?
It's basically, think of it just making your wallet more composable, right? In terms of where it's not just private key management that you have to worry about, where you can actually just create more code and software to do some more of the management on the back end, and to be able to make it smarter and how it handles things, how it bundles things, et cetera. The main thing that impacts what I do is more around the validator piece, because this is probably the most validator centric upgrade since the merge. I'd say it's more involved than the Chappelle upgrade, where they enabled withdrawals, and you already touched on a couple of those things. But they actually have broader implications than a lot of people think, because especially in this world of ETFs, and scalability is so important. The amount of time it takes to enter and exit validators is historically, before today, has been very, very long. It would be something like, I don't know, 9 to 12 hours or so if you wanted to enter a validator. Not that would be a whole ton of yield, but in order, if you want access to your ETH quickly and you want to get it deposited quickly, withdrawn quickly, those have always been an issue. And products like liquid staking derivatives have really helped for that. But for things like the ETFs, it's definitely better so that they can move ETH in and out of these environments much quicker, which is one of the things that happens. So that since the deposit data now ships inside every block, it actually takes as long as a block, so whatever, 7-13 minutes or so. So it's great for exchanges and staking desks instead of the need to spin up capacity on the fly. Another thing you mentioned is that it lets a single validator stake up to 2,048 ETH instead of 32. So now, like larger operators, they can merge thousands of keys, which are a real pain to manage, into a few mega validators, where it cuts their hardware costs, their bandwidth, gas costs, etc. Meanwhile, no one actually has to use this upgrade. They could still use the old withdrawal credentials and do it the same way they've always been doing if they don't want to go through an upgrade headache. But for those shops that have a lot of different validators, this will definitely create some efficiencies there. Another thing is, there are some issues where there's actually been stranded validators, because there's private keys both at the validator level and at the withdrawal address. So if by some chance if you lost your private key to the validator, say your hardware blew up, you didn't back it up right, but you knew your withdrawal address, because it's a hardware wallet. You know what that is. You have access to that. Well, that validator, that ETH is basically stuck in that validator. If you didn't have that key, you basically can't initiate the withdrawal function anymore. However, you can now initiate ETH withdrawals from the exit key, from the withdrawal key now. So there's probably actually a lot of lost ETH that has now been able to be exited. On the other hand, if someone had a withdrawal address that had their key compromised, and for some reason they didn't change those withdrawal credentials at the validator level, well, now there's an attack vector there that people can exit through that withdrawal address. So that's another thing to be mindful of. Overall, though, and also the way that validator rewards work, right? You have your consensus rewards, your execution rewards. You only really get your execution rewards when you're proposing a block, which is not very common. But the consensus rewards happen every few minutes as you're doing the attestations. And historically, what happened is you would have that a validator could only be 32 ETH, and then every whatever week or so, depending on how many validators are active, it would sweep those consensus rewards, and then it would basically put it into a wallet, and it would just be kind of auto claim. Now you have the capability to actually compound those into the validator balance. So you're instead of always being a validator at 32 ETH, you could start at 32 ETH, and a few years might be 35 ETH or 40 ETH or something, and then it allows for some of those compounding returns if people are interested in that. So figured I'd comment on some of the validator centric things with the Petra update this morning.
It's really helpful. Appreciate you jumping up and helping fill in the gaps between Steve and I's less technical brains. This is probably not, but my first thought hearing you describe from a valid, is there any chance this, like some of the downstream effect we see of this is it actually somehow like benefits the ETH ETF? Like, is that I don't think so, but might it be now more my thought is like, oh, it's more institutional friendly. Maybe we'll see more ETF. I know it's not quite a direct line, but is that a possibility?
Well, the first thing that needs to happen there is, first of all, there is no staking in the ETFs right now. Now, there is a very high expectation that that's going to change very, very soon. And yes, this does create an avenue. And there was always options through many different things where you would have maybe a buffer pool of ETH that's not staked that would be small enough where it would be immaterial to affecting the actual yield of the product at the end of the day. So the efficiencies are there. It's very small, but what really needs to happen is probably a bit more from the regulatory angle to get staking approved in the ETFs, which again, I would expect there'll be a lot of momentum on that this year.
That makes sense. So this is essentially kind of like lays the foundation for if and when staking via those ETFs does get approved, it's actually feasible for these large institutions with thousands or millions of ETH to actually do staking without having to have hundreds or thousands of wallets. So that makes sense.
Right, you're right. It absolutely creates efficiencies for those huge environments. Because as someone who has to support environments where there's thousands of validators that are now could be a lot less, only a few dozen, like that's going to be much less painful, much less processes to walk through, much less hardware costs. And of course, if you're an ETF and you have whatever millions of ETH or something like that, and you're using the same provider for it, there's absolutely efficiencies that could be downstream benefits to the ETF issuers, ETF holders, et cetera. In the grand scheme of things, especially for some of the smaller validators, it's not going to make a huge deal. And even at scale, the basis points advantages you're getting out of it aren't massive, but it definitely helps.
It's awesome. No, really appreciate you sharing. And I agree with Ed's sentiment in the abstract chat. It's like we really have seen some tremendous advancements in the tech, the user interface. Like things are leaps and bounds better where they were just a few years ago. And I just get the word foundational is what I keep coming back to. This feels like it's just the foundation now is getting laid to enable a lot of the consumer games, consumer dApps. Like I feel we're now, you actually could have a Web3 experience and not really know the difference. I don't know that was feasible just, a year ago. And now it's like, I even like, I'm trying to think I could not tell you my new Zed wallet address, Steve. In the Zed Champions account, I created a new account. They're on base now. I have no idea what my wallet address is. It's single sign-on. It's my email. That's it. Now,
same with Abstract, by the way. I couldn't tell you my Abstract wallet address. It's like I basically almost have. I don't remember numbers at all. I can't even remember birthdays outside of like my mom and my family and my kids. But I can probably recite if I had to. If I was in a pinch, I could probably recite to you my entire wallet address by number. Like that. Like that's because on ETH, couldn't tell you on Abstract. It's almost like Top Shot-esque. You didn't know your Top Shot wallet address, but it's like, no, I just send it to, Steve K. Bark, NFT Bark, right? Like that's, and it's, those upgrades matter. It's like we are so insular in crypto, thinking people care about the stupid shit we care about, or they're willing to jump through the hoops we care about. And look, the rewards are there. If you're willing to do all the things, you might just get a large DOOD airdrop, or you might just get a large whatever airdrop, right? Like, people who are thinking about like staking and earning certain rewards and certain, like, there are opportunities if you're willing to jump through the hoops. And obviously the financial upside is going to go down as it becomes more accessible, because more people will participate and people who are better than you will participate. It's like, but I think, like any technology, if you were a YouTuber in 2006, 2007, whenever that time frame was, 2008, you probably have a lot more chance to break through than you do in a YouTuber in 2025. The technical barrier, the barrier to edit and create videos, the skill set, all those things. Gary Vee took advantage of all this. Crypto similar, like you have those opportunities, but the consumer adoption ultimately is better for everybody.
Yep. Yeah, I don't. I'm just trying to like. I completely lost my train of thought, but I will attempt to get back to it. I'm gonna punt it to you because as I try to remember what I was going to say, it's making it worse. So.
Cap, did Cap do you smell, put Cap in rice? Maybe we need to clean out his charge port with a little bit of alcohol, rubbing alcohol. Do you smell? It's funny because it's weird. It has a whole different connotation. The thing, like when you would freeze up like that, be like, are you having a stroke? Do you smell burnt toast? Because that's actually what people say they would smell when they were having a stroke.
I thought about going into like a fake, my screen is frozen, and just acting like my screen glitched on me, and I locked it.
It's like you're like act glitches, and then Duke like walks by and jumps through the camera. I'm like, Cap, your dog just jumped through the background, right? It would be
my apologies. Brain farts happen from time to time. Usually I'm able to recover in a matter of a few seconds, but I don't even have any. I can't even blame a flower on that this morning. I'm actually, I don't have any coffee in me. It's just pre-workout, a little bit of tea. So I'm going to blame the lack of caffeine this morning.
It's people underestimate how difficult it is to talk for 2 hours every single morning. It is not as easy as you think it is. We're like, oh yeah, I hang out with my friends all the time. It's like, go talk to an audience for 2 hours, manage a stage, manage comments, have guests on, prepare, all those good things. But no, it's all good. But I think, I appreciate Greg coming up and giving us that context. He is like I said, he's like one of those people who works on real shit in this industry. I'm not going to give any details because, like he said, I'm not going to talk about clients, things like that. But I know of real shit he's worked on that actually affects everybody. And I think it's a really cool that we have someone like him who shows up and is able to educate us deeply on something like this, because he is a awesome leader in this community and definitely makes it does his best to continue to contribute. So love that and love to see that. But Cap, I know we have a couple other things to cover this morning. I guess quickly before we get into Dude, which might be a meatier discussion. And by the way, people want to jump up the stage at any time, let us know. We're always happy to have people on stage to talk through these sort of things, especially we're going to be getting into Dude, which I think there's a lot of strong opinions on one way or the other. New Hampshire signing a bill to allowing the state to invest in Bitcoin. The question becomes, we've seen a bunch of states reject these bills. We talked about it yesterday, including your home state of Florida. We saw Arizona approve one, but the governor vetoed it. Are we turning around here? Do you think this is an anomaly, or do you think New Hampshire starts to be the first domino, especially if the United States gets into the play here?
Yeah, I hope so. And I really do think it's going to take one domino. I really think once one of them is in, the floodgates open.
I think it takes two or three. I think it takes 2 or 3, but yes, keep going. Sorry. And I'll explain why in a second, but keep going.
We were at the goal line with Arizona, and we got the curveball from the governor, and too many more of those, and it's going to get concerning. But we get one over the goal line. I think the second and third one comes pretty quick, and then I think it's off to the races.
Yeah, I think it's like the if anybody's seen the video, there's a TED Talk about how things tip, and they actually have a video of a person dancing in the middle of a concert. It's a great video if you haven't seen it. This person's dancing and they look like crazy. Someone's watching them, they're like, one person looks crazy. Then one person joins them, they're like, all right, those 2 people are crazy. Then a third person joins them, and then all of a sudden everybody just starts doing this crazy dance that like no one's watching and not caring. And it had to do with the it's basically a thought on how things tip, how things change, and how dominoes and crowd behavior can happen. And I think if New Hampshire does it and they actually go out and make a buy, and then maybe let's say Arizona comes around and does the next one, or a Texas comes out and does things, suddenly it's like, well, wait a minute, us too. And then maybe Wyoming says like, hey, Cynthia Lummis has been representing us for years in Congress. What about Cynthia Lummis in her state? And then it's like, wait a minute, we probably should be paying attention to this. So I think hopefully it's the domino that starts to tip things forward, because it's it's out there. And I know we always say not financial advice because it's not. It feels like it's inevitable because it feels like if the United States is talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve and our enemies are, our adversaries, I should say, are stacking it when you hear sort of what they're doing, and you have companies stacking it, who are, noteworthy companies who are putting it on their balance sheet. We talked about it the other day, like multiple companies putting it on their balance sheet now. NVIDIA talking about it as a, store of value that they want. It just feels like it's a matter of time where it's like, if nobody cared about Michael Jordan rookie cards, they wouldn't be valuable. They are. If nobody cared about VFriends Topps boxes, they wouldn't be going for 3.5x the price I bought them for, right? Like I'm debating if I'm going to rip a box and just have fun because I already bought it for $99 or I'm going to sell it for $350 online.
Oh, wow.
Or do a pack break.
That secondary already?
I think 350, 360 are what they're going for. And it's a Topps Chrome box and it's unopened and I could have gotten free.
Are there other... Are you seeing any, and maybe it's too early to tell, any demand outside of the VFriends family? Are there hardcore card collectors that are talking and getting excited about this drop?
I don't know enough about the community to say for sure, but it's Topps Chrome, which is what I saw when I had it, somebody who is not in NFTs, when they saw a picture, a non-Web3 person was like, oh, a Topps Chrome drop. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's a big deal because I'm not a card guy outside of like, I like to collect, some Jordans, some birds, things like that. Like I like having my collection there. I like having some Pokemon cards with my kids and I like the VFriends cards and I like what they've done. I have some Pudgy boxes, but somebody was like, ooh, a Topps Chrome drop. Like that was like a thing. And so given that's the case, like I think it's probably a big deal. And they're only going to continue doing it. They have an entire game. They're running tournaments. They're showing up to card shows. From what I hear from Teacher Katie saying, National Card Show this year is going to be like a VCon in the sense that there's going to be tons of side events. Not that VCon's going to be running a ton of official events, but they're going to be there. It's like they're doing the work
to attack that than like an NFT NYC, for example.
Yeah, like who. We love to like put like, again, this is like the Gary Vayner, it's such an obvious Gary Vaynerchuk like big brain thing, but it's like we could push a bunch of money around the same Web3 community and watch things go to zero, or you can go to card conventions and actually teach people the game and have, by the way, not only that, they have a community who's so excited. People like Josh Courage and Teacher and Teacher Katie and J-Rob and, Ron Jordan are going to be going to these card conventions and teaching people and onboarding them. And people are going to see how excited they are. And it's impossible to listen to like Ron Jordan talk about trading card games and not get excited, and the dude, and I get it. Like but like Ron Jordan belongs at a card convention. And I say that as somebody myself who probably belongs at a card convention. If I was as into it, Ron Jordan tests how mini cars with VFriends in them race on his treadmill, right? Like little VFriend minis. He owns one of, those vending machines, which, people question, but if, I talked to a guy who has one of the vending machines who owns an ice cream shop by me. And his answer was like, I have to refill that thing constantly. Kids love it. Like people think that like vending machines are like, oh, they're outdated. What's VFriends doing? This is so stupid. What's going on? The guy's like, yeah, the people who own it, I'm constantly refilling it and they're constantly coming here to collect cash. He gets a small percentage of the cash and goes on from there. But it's a Pinstripe Gator telling us Chrome is a premium brand in cards. So it's basically like having a premium drop. Because like everybody went bananas when the Topps Chrome drop happened and it was Chrome. Everyone's like, oh my God, Chrome. So in any case, yes, I think they're being smart. I think they're doing the right thing. And I'm excited to see them chasing that down because I think it's pretty cool. And I think that's how you grow a brand. But it's like the things that drive me nuts about how most NFT companies don't try to build a brand and certainly don't try to escape our bubble. VFriends is the opposite. That's all they seem to think about is how they're going to grow their brand. And yes, we'll provide utility for the underlying assets as it makes sense, but they're not trying to like force feed utility with holders saying when airdrop, when Vcoin. They're just like, nah, man. I think a lot of the people, because by nature of being Gary V fans and the garage sailing type thing, say, wait a minute, instead of having to go to a garage sale and find rare items and sell them, I can buy $3 $99 boxes token gated on day one and then sell those for $1,000+ on, like, because that's what it is. Think about that. Like, there are people who made a $300 investment that can go make a $700 profit today with those boxes. Like, that's value and utility of the financial kind, but it's just different than what we're used to. It's not a coin drop that goes to zero. And it was using the technology. It was a token gated drop. If you had a VFriends 1, you can go buy 3 boxes for $99. I bought 1 because I'm like, look, I don't know if I can drop 300 on this thing. Stupid me. So I don't know. It might have been 2. Maybe it was 2. I think it was 3 though. So somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. But imagine like telling a person in Web 2, like imagine telling your neighbor down the street, hey, do you want to make $1,000? Do you want to make $700 in a week by simply going and clicking some buttons? They'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. So anyway, so I think they're doing it right. I'm excited about that. And I think it's pretty cool. So anyway, but I think we should probably token drop discuss, because I think that's probably the topic du jour, because there's a lot of mixed opinions on this one.
Let's get into it, because we got we warmed up the room. We got an hour left to talk all things DOOD, and I haven't seen I've seen people talking about people fudding the DOOD drop. If I were to gauge the sentiment, I would say mostly positive and mostly well received so far. I saw some people taking shots, mainly. I'm just going to call it is what it is. The ones I saw, I'm not singling anyone out. I just saw some Penguin PFPs that were taking shots that said something like, "Oh, Pingu, gave everyone or included everyone," or something like that. Except if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Pingu included Doodles in their Pingu drop. I could be wrong on that, but is that correct?
I don't believe so. No.
So I just thought that was kind of rich to take a shot at Doodles for not including Penguins when Penguins didn't include Doodles. But yeah, what's the other FUD or what? Because token drops, who the hell knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I mean, the Binance listings, I think big. It also, if futures are going live, so we'll probably see a lot of people shorting it. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect in terms of immediate price action, but you've done a lot more research. You've done a lot more charting, and but yeah, what has been the main blowback?
So this is it. It's sort of a couple things, because it's interesting, because I'll talk about I'll hit the blowback, then I want to hit why I actually quite like it. So you see the Zier tweet, just to give a little more variety to the comment. Doodles just announced their community airdrop partners, and every other NFT community has been excluded. Feels bad. I'm sure you remember Poopy once said they were no longer an NFT company, and this is how. Hugo says no one ever hooked them up. Don't see why they should. They've been shit on by everyone, unfortunately. Zier acknowledges that as a point. Before I get into why,
what are those other I don't know. I keep going back and forth on how I feel about these airdrops, other communities. I mean, there's multiple, how you do it is important. How much you allocate, how much you drop is important. But I got to imagine most of those people are insta sellers.
That's the point. They are. So why do we, in fact, actually, before I even get into that part of it, that actually is a good transition. I'm going to go ahead and hit the more you know before we get into that one and talk about it.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
It's time for the more you know, brought to you by ENS. Cap mentioned sellers of tokens, and we'll get into it, because NFT projects don't just launch tokens. They launch hopes, hype, and often heartbreak. Now, everybody remembers ApeKind hit $26 in 2022 in a hype leading up to the other segment, but today it's hovering around 50 cents, a 98% drop from that all-time high. Of course, that was unsustainable, but it's even down from that $1-2 mark that a lot of people thought when you were looking at those market caps. Meme Land from Meme peaked at about 5 cents. It's now down over 70% and hurts me right in the bags as well. There's been people talking about how Meme, probably discussion to talk about as well, has largely been abandoned, and Ray seems to have abandoned Meme Land on the whole, from what we can see. Like Ray, but haven't heard a lot from him. Pengu from Pudgy Penguin debuted strong, but quickly slipped, and is now a fraction of the initial price. We've seen it at, I believe, currently about 1/3 of the market cap, even after a large run, than it was at those highs. And of course, remember Cool Cat's Milk? Similar arc. Launched, dropped, didn't work. So what starts as community awards and ecosystem fuel has often become a masterclass in volatility. So yeah, your NFT might have earned you a token, but holding through the top, that is a different story. Now, will DOOD see a different arc with DreamNet? We shall see. They seem to be putting a lot of thought into it, and I really like how they've done this drop. And that was The More You Know, brought to you by ENS. ENS does more than you know, not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring across the internet. It's your identity, simple, memorable, and unmistakably yours. Security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domains to learn more and secure your ENS domain. Doodles taking care of their own plus strategic community expansion. It's the smartest thing for Doodles to do, says Von Frunten. I agree. I don't think Doodles has any obligation to give an airdrop to instant sellers who have been shitting on their brand on the timeline. Like, why would they do that?
Yeah, I agree. It's different if they've been collaborating with all these brands, they've been working with them, they're close. I am surprised there's not a little bit, but I don't like care. I don't hold it against them.
Who would you reward if you were them though? If I were being, and I'm not like trying to, like, because I know you're not saying that you're like, I'm sorry, there's some, like, let's actually talk it out. I'm not putting you on the spot, but like, who would you reward if you're the Doodles community? Like, who is the most logical supporters that you would reward within this world?
I mean, my first thought would be Klanos because they're on Solana. I feel like they've got a friendly relationship. You see Austin and Cab on panels and stuff together. Like they're like similar vibes, but not like necessarily competing. That would be my first thought, would be Klanos. They seem like they've had friendly relationships amongst the leadership teams for a while, and with them being on Solana, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it's fine that they didn't. I'm not saying they should. That's the first one that comes to my mind. You?
Yeah, Klanos is a great call. That was actually one that came to mind for me as well. That I not that I would say I would have expected, but I do think that was one that is very I do think worthwhile to potentially reward because they are friendly, they do hang out, and they they do a pretty and they're on, like you said, Soul, so it might make sense. So and they might do a quid pro quo on that one because I don't know, like they haven't said anything, but I have to imagine with Klanos doing all the collector score stuff that there's going to be a token at some point, and the badges. So I would say that could be a quid pro quo potentially.
I know we're kind of jumping around here. I do want to get into how they did the allocation because I think that from my perspective, I think they nailed that and
nailed it.
Yeah, I think they really did nail it. That's where, like, when you talk about people fudding it, I haven't seen a single like holder fud it, and I think that's important. I haven't seen a single person like complain about, oh, I should have more. Like the conversation you're having the other day, oh, this person's got, they only have 40 doodles, but they've got 4 million miles. From my perspective, in the one doodle I have in a wallet, my allocation from space miles was greater than the allocation I got from the doodles, slightly greater. And I put mine in space, not day one, but pretty early on. And so, like, effectively what they did is the people who did what they told them to do, they gave them almost like a 2x multiplier. So if you owned one doodle and put it in space, it was greater than had you held 2 doodles and not put them in space. I think that was important that they nailed that element of it. And the only thing I saw, and I haven't seen anyone complain, just looking at like the screenshots, maybe a little light on the collectible side of things, like all the their shorts and all that stuff. Like, but I didn't see anyone complaining. So that was like, and I didn't really collect any, so it wasn't like I wasn't upset about it, but I kind of thought I might see some people complaining about, oh, I bought all these collectibles and I got, 47 tokens from it, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Seems like pretty happy across the board from what I can tell.
No, it's funny because I'm glad I did my second modeling out. Because I modeled my first one out based on like 75% space miles, which is way too high. Then I went 50-50 and 25% on my next one. Space miles ended up being, I think, about 18.5 to 20% allocation when you looked at it. But to your point, based on how many you acquired, it could actually double your cost based on a base dude. So if you had a day one, let's say you had one doodle that you launched in the space, the doodle itself is going to get you 185,000 dude, right? The space miles from that is going to get you 213,000 space miles. So your allocation was more than doubled by doing exactly what they said. So to Cap's point, absolutely nailed that one. As far as the wearables go, I personally will give my example. I like that they scaled out the rarity of the wearables. I actually think that was a really cool concept because my family and I were buying things and kind of, dressing our doodles in certain things. I have 45 exclusive wearable, excuse me, 45 exclusive wearables. That's about 5,600, dude. I have 9 Grail wearables. That's 5,400, dude. So you can see that, about a 5x value on Grail wearables versus exclusive, and exclusive or secondary. I have 172 essential wearables, and that's only 4,300, dude. So that means there's more than a, whatever you want to do on that 20x multiplier on Grails versus essentials. So they did a really good job with that. They rewarded people with posters to the tune of, I think, about 15 dude per poster. They rewarded people with the beta passes, which were something that they dropped to them early on. If you had certain dudes and people were like, why do I need multiple beta passes? Again, that's about 80 dude per beta pass. Certified virals, which they would drop to you for free if you're a holder and had that pass. Those had rewards associated with them. So I think it's important to note that they took everything into consideration, but that space miles mechanic I think was really good because they did reward those who were actually loyal and launched into space and didn't just sit around waiting to sell, didn't pull out of space. So I personally think the only thing I would have changed about space miles, which I don't know how hard this mechanic is if they could have made the space miles sellable with the Doodle. That would have been interesting to see what was happening, because you would have been able to see like, hey, these things are attached.
But you know what? I also saw a lot of people buying Doodles yesterday. I saw someone, I swept 12 Doodles and put them into space. Like, I wasn't expecting that. We saw a lot of people buying on the announcement and putting them in space on the announcement. I personally wasn't expecting that.
So I think
people don't care about money. Who the fuck buys something 2 days before the token launches? Those people clearly just have endless bags and don't care about what happens after the token.
I think what's happening, though, and I actually want to get Musty's take on here, because you said you haven't heard a single Doodle FUD. Musty has been pissing in the cornflakes of the dude chats, which I appreciate, but in a fun way, not in a people love Musty. But that is basically, so here's the math, and I don't know if people believe this or not. Yesterday, where Doodles were out in the floor, I haven't done the math recently, is that if Dude launches at a $325 million market cap, it would be dead even EV or plus EV to own a Doodle. Meaning people are buying Doodles now because they're doing the math and saying, all right, let's say this thing goes down. I haven't done the math, so this is an example. I think people are saying if Doodles go down to 1.5 ETH and it launches at a $200 million market cap, I'm at least even on this. So I'm gambling on being able to sell my dude at a 300 or higher market cap, then sell this Doodle, and then I'm going to be plus EV on the trade. I think that's what people are doing, because right now people are trying to say like, oh, Doodles are free. Doodles are even money at a $325 million market cap, at least as of yesterday. I think they've picked up a little bit, so it's probably closer to 350, I would guess, because I've been doing the tokenomic math on this whole thing. It's 10 billion tokens, which makes it really easy to do the math based on how much dude. You're getting 185 per Doodle. There's no mystery there. So I think it allows for quick math where, the market has worked out that, again, a 3.5 ETH Doodle, in theory, if you buy it, sell the dude immediately, and then sell the Doodle on the way down, you probably are plus EV even by a little bit. And then you're gambling that, hey, maybe this thing opens at a higher market cap. Maybe we get lucky and there's a $500,000 market cap and people get hype out the gate and you're able to sell it at an even higher rate. But yeah, the math is really interesting, but I think they nailed it. TGE is Friday, I believe. It said the 9th, so they announced that coming out after. Again, they did a really good job. They made partner announcements, like you said, Binance coming out, other partner announcements coming out of ones they're working with. And so to me, like, it's a very well executed drop. And the fact that there's no secondary collection outside of duplicators, that actually, which they obviously have at far less of a premium because they're a multiplier. They did a good job on that. I will say that I did overestimate, I think, to a degree, the value. Or no, actually, I think never mind. I nailed the duplicator versus Doodle. It's a 20-1, or it's a 80-20 split. I had them at a 90-10 split. So actually, sorry, I didn't nail it. I underestimated duplicator allocation. I had them at 90-10 split. It's an 80-20 split based on base value of a duplicator, about 20% duplicator, 80% dupe. So some really good numbers. I think they did a really good job with it. I feel good about the pending airdrop, regardless of various market caps. I think a lot of other people do as well. And I think a lot of people in the Doodles ecosystem are going to sell day one and eat. And I actually don't think the team is going to be, don't sell and FUD the way, we saw the Jesse fudding Farouk for selling his Kaido airdrop. I don't think the team's going to do that. I think they're going to keep building the token towards utility and hope it holds up. But I think this is a reward the community. And then I've heard a lot of people in the community saying they're going to buy back later to participate if the token drops. So, I don't know. Musty, you've been on the, you've been holding it down in the dude chat saying this whole thing's going to zero. So, what's your take on this?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, like Binance and all this stuff, like, I don't get me wrong, I love Doodles, I love the boys, like, you know, Loaf and all these guys and Squinch and Greeny and all these guys, right? Like, these guys are all degenerates, so they understand the game. They're not going to sell shame. They probably don't give a flying fuck what anybody does with their allocation, right? Now, for the rest of the community, I have no clue. The community is obviously very split between people full of hopium and people who hate Doodles and just go to the Discord to FUD, and then the other people don't go there. I mean, what I think is going to happen is, I made a tweet today, it'd be funny if Doodles liquidated all the shorts. I think that's what's going to happen. I think everybody in the space is gearing up to short this, like, the second it drops. I think we'll probably see a scam pump, and then I'll just, you know, then I'll go with everybody else to go short the thing to zero. I mean, what it's like, people don't care about utility. People don't care about whatever, right? Like, look at all the token charts. This is going to look exactly the same, right? Regardless of whatever they're building and how bullish what they're building is. It's just the way the space goes. Doodles floor price is probably going to cut in half. My other guess is that there's probably a lot of people, which I've already spoken to, you know, 1, 2, 3 people, who are just going to look to dump their shit and go buy a rare Doodle because it's probably like more fun and maybe even more worth it to just own another Doodle or whatever. I never sent my Doodle to space. I mean, I tried twice and then I just couldn't be bothered after that. It just wasn't working.
Musty, this is making a lot more sense now, Musty. This is making a lot more sense.
So, but even so, like, again, bro, this is just charts all just look the same. I mean, go look at the meme land chart. Meme land was one of the best token launches we've seen. Look at the ApeCoin chart. Like, all this stuff ends up in the same place, right? No matter what, all of it. Yeah, I didn't send my Doodle to space. Probably a mistake, but I see people with some crazy space miles. Bro, those motherfuckers are going to paint the goddamn chart. Like, those guys are going to paint the goddamn chart.
Yeah, I think it's a good, I actually think it's a pretty good take as far as, like, I think the chart, like, I think it's funny. Like, I don't know if there's going to be an initial pump. I like the fact that you're thinking that, though. Like, now you're making me.
I had the same thought this morning. Kid you not? I thought, I've seen a lot of people not in Doodles talking about how they cannot wait to short this launch. And it got to the point where it got too much. Like, it's like if CT becomes almost unanimous one direction.
Consensus trades are bad.
Yeah,
you always do the opposite of consensus trades, exactly. Right? Always.
If everyone on CT is zigging, it's a good time to zag. And I was like, man, wouldn't this be hilarious tomorrow if we get a scam pump on launch and all these shorts get liquidated and just I can smell it happen. Like, I think that it would be the most entertaining outcome, and I could see it happening. I think it's in range. And then I agree with Musty. Then the chart probably does crash at some point in the first 24 to 48 hours, but I wouldn't be surprised to see just because it'd be entertaining. I don't know who does it, but I wouldn't be surprised to see we get a scam pump out of the gate and get all the shorts liquidated.
I mean, being on Binance means to me that they have market makers, but, you know, market makers come in depending on what kind of money you have. And I don't know what kind of money all these teams have, right? But being day one makes me guess that they spent a good pretty penny to do this, which means including market making. Now, how long does the market making last and when do they come in? I don't actually know, but that's my guess is that we'll see the little scam pump come in and you should probably sell on the scam pump. I mean, do whatever you want, but that's when I'll be selling my shit. I don't know, man. Like, the future, like, I don't care about this. I've already told all, like, the guys already know this. I just don't give a fuck about all this creativity bullshit. Like, it's just not for me. And it just goes back to even like other side, right? Like, who is actually going to use any of this shit? Like, yeah, diehard community members, but people barely have an hour to spend, you know, time to do anything in their life. But overall for Doodles, like, the future of Doodles, I know a lot of people who are looking to enter Doodles now because now that the token's going to blow over and floor is going to crash and all the shit, people want to enter because, like, I don't care what anybody thinks, Doodles is easily one of the best brands that exists in Web3.
And you're talking what you're not interested in specifically, you're talking DreamNet?
Yeah. I don't care about making a whole thing and this and that and whatever, right? Like, yeah, not for me.
I do think I will say, it's an interesting concept. Like, the DreamNet thing is interesting to me for a few reasons. First of all, I love the take, Musty, because I do think it's fair to be like, look, if we're talking specific token, which I think, you know, is a, you know, is like the topic because that's what's dropping. And, like, people are figuring out when to sell, what to sell. It's a giant game of chicken right now because I think, like, you know, there are sometimes those little initial pumps. Like I usually get, like I got dunked on for selling my Kaido right away because it had an initial pump, then it pulled back. I think I sold my Magic Eden and like it pumped like 10 to 15% to the upside. I do wonder, I'm curious your take on this, Musty, because you're probably more tied into the financial aspect than I am in a better way. What do you think the upside pump truly is? Like, let's say it opens at 300 million. Do you think it pumps to 350? Like,
I don't think it opens at 300. I think it opens at 250. Whales market has it valued at 300, and normally that's overinflated. Normally secondary markets are overinflated. So my guess is that we touch 300 and then we just plummet from there. And I mean, touching 300, to be honest, like I'll shed a tear of joy. You know, like I actually think that this is going to suck, like genuinely. And it's not because of the Doodles team. I think it's just because of the market, bro. The market is just so, everything in the world is just so uncertain. And it's just like, the Doodles, but like I commend the Doodles for not waiting, right? A lot of these teams like Redacted and Shan and all these fucking idiots, they're all like, oh, we need to wait till the market's right. No, bro, the market doesn't care about you, right? Just launch whenever you're ready to launch, right? Which is what I think they're doing, and which is like it's good. But I don't think this thing, like what did Anime hit 700 mil or some shit? Like, bro, we're not hitting 700 mil.
Oh, I forgot Anime ran up that high.
It did run up pretty high. I looked at Anime. It did run up pretty high. ApeCoin is like I want to say ApeCoin is like $300-400 million market cap, something like that. Maybe on that side. But to your point about it, like I have been modeling everything out based on a $250 million market cap, which I think is exactly, you know, I think we're sort of aligned there, which again, not FUD. It's just a I thought Anime was like 500 mil, but like either way, I sold my Anime pretty much right away as well. There's a little initial pump out the gate and then I dropped out. I guess my point I was making there is like I want to give like actionable thoughts to our listeners, which is not financial advice, but something to think about, which is you mentioned like, hey, there'll be like this sort of scam pump out the gate or this pump where people liquidate the shorts.
I mean, Anime is still trading at fully diluted value of almost 200 million. It's 184 million. I didn't think it was that high.
Yeah, that's actually shocking. That's actually shocking. But I mean, I think the Doodles and the Azuki community exist in two different, like, I think Doodles, I think the Azuki community actually has diamond hand holders and you know, they're interesting people who didn't sell their tokens, right? Like, and still buy. The Doodles have always been split, as a lot of people know, and there's a lot of people buying Doodles just to flip out, right? Doodles are one of like the most flipped projects, you know, fucking like of all time, right? People are always buying in and out of Doodles. And now how many people like actually want to hold to be a community member? I have no fucking clue. Like, I really don't know.
I think, like, I don't fully understand what DreamNet is going to do or be, but I'm a lot more bullish on DOOD being needed for DreamNet and actually having some real use and demand than I am for whatever's coming with it. I don't know what the plans are for Anime Coin. I feel more confident about there's actually plans. There's going to be something to do with the DOOD token. And therefore, who knows what happens on the 9th, on launch day. I actually think that, like, seeing Anime at almost 200 million, it makes me bullish on DOOD if they fast follow with DreamNet and DreamNet hits. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a hit. Statistically, it's probably not. It's very hard to try to launch new novel stuff. I had a post pinned up earlier we're sharing from Dude Lift talking about, you know, really the first of its kind for what they're attempting to do here. Maybe it doesn't hit, but if it does, man, like pretty bullish for Dude if knowing that Anime is sitting at 184 million and it's for all intents and purposes, Anime is just a meme coin today, right?
I mean, isn't these all just kind of bullshit meme coins? Like, I mean, even if they ship out DreamNet and all the stuff immediately, like, who are you trying to capture outside of the Doodles community, right? Like, Doodles are already in bad standing, bro. All the KOLs that are posting are all just dunking on it, right? Because they don't care about Doodles, and everyone's still living in this is not an NFT project. And not only that, people aren't really even caring to buy into NFT communities. You see a lot of people switching to their face or to custom AI avatars.
But I don't think DreamNet's I don't view DreamNet as an NFT play though. I think it's an AI play and a token play, and it's like there's people not into NFT PFPs that are really bullish and deep into virtuals. And if this is a new different,
right? So why pivot to Doodles?
Because they're not pivoting to Doodles,
right?
They're not pivoting to Doodles. The thesis is this is a better version of virtuals. This is a better version of these agentic launch pads, and that would attract a lot of people. Could care less about the NFT if the AI thing is a hit. That transcends NFT PFPs.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I'm not a tech genius or anything like that, and I do have like just a small little like focus group or whatever the fuck. I have a friend who's already made a lot of money in crypto, and he's funding he just got funded for an AI company he's building. He showed it to all of his colleagues, right? The whole Doodles thing, white paper and stuff, and they actually love it, but they just like also don't care, right? Because there's like other people that are doing this kind of shit that they know, and people building all this kind of stuff. I don't know, man. It's just hard. Like it's just hard to, like you said, it's hard to ship new stuff to. Like it really is. But
that's actually that's actually
hard, which I appreciate, and I don't mean to like fully shit on the parade here because I appreciate the Doodles team, but and I'm always just objective about the way things go here, no matter how bullish I am on people or whatever.
You should be, especially on a token drop. Like you all know, like these things. There's very few that don't trend to zero, right? Like from where they open up at, right? Like it's just there is more often than not the first 48, 72 hours you see the Pico top of a lot of these tokens, and then they price discovery, but the price discovery is usually much lower than where they open because most of them open at ridiculous valuations.
Yeah, I think
it's very hard to reach the first highs that you get to, right? I mean, I just hate token launches, right? Like I just hate token launches. It's such a burden that goes onto the team because you'll never, once you launch a token, you're almost tied indefinitely to whatever that price is, right? Like, oh, your NFT may be X price, but your token is fucking down horrendously over the last 12 months, right? Like, and I would hope, and I think that. Because I remember saying that I hope that the Doodles, because I remember when Julian left and everybody was like, oh, Doodles are going to lose all their brand partnerships and all this stuff. And they made it very clear that after you work with somebody like McDonald's, you don't go look for people anymore. People come to you, right? So my hope is that these companies are either too blind or too stupid or just don't care to go look at the token price in the future. And they just want to work for Doodles because of what Doodles stands for and is.
I actually think it was a really good balanced take that you gave, because I'll kind of say the following. Like, one, you mentioned like, look, like this is what happens with tokens, which I think is a very was a very realistic and honest take about what happens with these type of tokens. So I think that is a that's totally fair, right? I also think that what you said about like, look, I have friends who are like founding AI companies who are saying they looked at the white paper and it's really awesome. I think that part of it is, interesting because your whole point is like, you're like, look, I understand that people truly like this product they're building.
Candidly, if it's real, these are real, like more of that is far more important long term than whatever the price action is on Friday.
Yes. And that's it. Like when you look at like what they're building, here's what I would say is like, I DreamNet has some more clarity after the thread. I think today the token is the talk of the town. I think after token Friday, depending on how the launch goes, obviously, I think Monday, maybe we pivot a little more into the DreamNet thread and what it does, because I do think that's important. But I think obviously the token is going to be what's on people's minds. So we want to tell people how to play it, what to do. But if they're building a product that is for more than just us, that is a positive thing. And if the token associated with it is DOOD and people outside of our ecosystem are like, outside of NFT, like Musty's point, he's like, all the KOLs like to shit on Doodles. Exactly why you don't reward them with token.
And it's making me like, my plans were to sell 100% of my DOOD on that scam pump on launch day. I'm not like a deep, I hold a doodle, or I own half a doodle. I split the asset with Croc. So I have half a doodle and some other stuff, but I've been a fan. I root for the team. I like them. I'm not a doodler, right? I'm not like deep in the community. I'm not like, wearing doodle merch every day. I'm not like beating the doodle drum. I also don't fund them, but I do think they've gotten some unfair criticism, and seeing the KOLs come out on the attack and talking about shorting them, like, part of me wants to have a little fun with the short squeeze part. Part of me wants to like see this go down, like just for the pure entertainment of all these KOLs, all of them, that are bashing it. Actually, put your money where your mouth is, short the token. And then I'm sensing a little bit of swagger coming back from the community. Like I just saw, whether it's, Squinch just had a post like talking about, oh, so you're telling me the dope community that ran the biggest partnerships in all of Web3 alongside Minecraft and Snoopy and Hello Kitty and every other important brand of all time is launching a token. They're also building wild shit and taking care of their community. Like there's a little bit of swagger coming back that I don't know. I felt they had lost a little bit of it, or there's this uncertainty or overall lack of, I mean, myself included would talk about how every time we get a pump and Doodles on the NFT on the floor price, you see people run to the exits because they're looking for their liquidity event. So my thinking is that the DOOD token drop would be a liquidity event for all these individuals and they would just be rushing to the exits. I'm starting to change my thought on that. I'm starting to think like, I feel some of these holders are taking it personal. And I don't know if that's not a bad thing for the token price.
I don't think that it's gonna look. I'm not bullish on the token price. I look at it as a liquidity event for most people. It probably will be for me and Dawn and everybody else. But I want to be clear about that and separate two things the way Musty has. I feel for whatever reason, and I don't know the reason. Maybe people are just excited about free money. Like there has been this uncorking where the team has been a little quieter. We're like, what's DreamNet? What's going on with DOOD? And the past 24 hours. I've seen an explanation of DreamNet. I've seen some partnerships. They've talked about more partnerships potentially coming down the pike. I've seen this uncorking of the community basically being like, here's what's happening. I've seen a bunch of salty people who aren't in the community talking about not getting allocations, which is funny to me. It's like, what an entitled way. Give me free money after I've shit on you. I had a really, again, comment after the show. I'll take you that I was going to put there. Give me free money after I've shit on you. You might know the direction I'm going with that. But like, but it's like, I think that like, it's like, I don't know, like, AI people telling me they're building a cool product, seeing what it is, seeing that they're going to have this sort of launch platform with sort of, this launch platform with a really, and again, the one thing I've been consistent on, if nothing else with Doodles, is that I really think that team is super smart. I think they're really good at what they do. And so, that idea and the idea that they're going to create this lore building platform, like what happens? I said this before. If I understand DreamNet correctly and you get to build out these lore and these planets and the better that they do, the better that your token does. If they're trying to really build character IP this way, what happens when the people who like live and breathe Dungeons and Dragons discover they can go play it online in some ways to build out these lore and these opportunities, or people who like to create online, build it out and are like, wait a minute, I can make $17 a week just creating lore, which I want to do in my spare time anyway. Like that's the audience they need to hit. If I'm understanding the product correctly, is like get people outside of your ecosystem who want to build this sort of product and would do it anyway. Like people like my son who make up stories all the time about like, make up like lore and stories about his favorite, shows. And like, if he could just build that and make money, why the fuck wouldn't he? So I think like there is the opportunity there. The team seems genuinely excited about the project. They absolutely nailed the tokenomics, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I don't think that Cap and myself and other people who've put Doodles into space since day one should have a lower allocation because they want to reward a community that has consistently crapped on them. Like, I don't think so. I think they're doing it. I think they leave the community feeling good about, a token that they get, whether they take the liquidity today or otherwise. And I think that they're building something out that's pretty cool. And I think Musty's looking at it, I would actually argue exactly the right way in his own way. And again, Musty's one of the people that everybody, even though he's saying stuff like this in the dude chat, he's still like this lovable person that they're like, here he goes. He's what I would call the opposite of Roops. If people are in the dude chat, where Roops is like, sellers will regret it. And then Musty's out here being like, holders will regret it. But it's in a way where it's like very honest, where it's like, I'm telling you what to do with a token, but I'm not telling you that the team isn't awesome. I'm not telling you the product isn't awesome. I'm not telling you there won't be a fit down the line. I'm just telling you that if a token launches day one, it's a $300 million market cap. Musty saying, don't walk, run for the exits, which I think is fine. I think that's a very balanced take, where you can separate, like, it's the same thing with Ethereum. We talk about Ethereum. The token price doesn't change the way I feel about Ethereum being awesome. It's just Ethereum is awesome, even though the token price isn't going up right now. And I think they're doing that as well. So I'm pretty excited.
Is more awesome as the price goes up, Steve?
What's that?
I'm a fan of it, but I become a much bigger fan when the price goes up.
Yeah. When price goes up, things look a lot nicer. What is it?
Kaito up 50% in the last day. This is ripping.
Yo, fuck Kaito, to be honest. That shit's bullshit too. I'm happy that Austin didn't and the team didn't go pay those stupid shills, bro. Fuck that shit. all that stuff, bro. That's how you reward all these stupid fudders fudding. And I like some of these guys, right? Like the ICOs and the fucking whales, right? Like all these guys, but everybody just wants free dollars, right? So when you don't use something on Kaito, like Kaito, you kind of just put your nuts on the table. Like, fuck y'all, you want this? You got to pay out of your own goddamn pocket, bro. I'm so happy because I'm tired of feeding all these fucking people for free, bro.
I agree. I'm glad they didn't use Kaito for the DOOD drop. I feel pretty strongly that they should use it for DreamNet. I'm curious Steve's thoughts on that. I think DreamNet, because of everything we talked about, it's not an NFT project. It's for people, but way else. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to get excited about DreamNet. And I think Kaito would be a great way for them to spread awareness about DreamNet when they're ready.
That's actually, do you agree or not, Musty? I know you're not a big fan of Kaito.
I mean, can you double back after that? Like, can Austin say, like, no, sorry guys, we're not going to use you, and then double back and say, actually, never mind? Like, I don't know.
Did he come out and say, like, I don't know. Did he come out and have words?
I think he said it wasn't a fit for DOOD, right? Wasn't that his exact word?
He didn't shit on it. I think he just said it wasn't a fit.
I agree.
Like, which basically is just a nice way of saying, fuck y'all. You know, I'm not trying.
I agree. It would not be a good fit for DOOD. Most of those people who get eligible would get claims. They'd be the insta sellers. But I think something like DreamNet, I think you'd get some really good content creators, some really good threat. Like, not only would you get them talking about it, Doodles might flip someone like an ICO beast who's a Doodles fudder. I like ICO beast. He's on record. It's not, he's not a fan of the brand or this token. I think if it's on Kaito, these people that play the Kaito game, they're going to do the research. They're going to learn about it. I think part of my thought of Kaito, part of it is, yes, it's an agency play. It's getting your stuff out there. It's a marketing play, but it's also an educational tool. And I think that's the thing that none of us have talked about yet is how many people, like you and I, are going to do it, Steve. We've talked about, like, I'm going to be learning more about Polkadot because I want to put out a thread on Polkadot. I don't want to put out a thread on Polkadot, just some copy paste or chat GPT something to get some Kaito points or get some Polkadot airdrop. I'm actually going to research more about the protocol to put out content about it. And I think you'd see a lot of people do that with DreamNet because it is confusing. I don't know what the hell they're doing. It's different. It's new. And I think they could capture a lot of attention by rewarding people that want to do the research and put out quality content about it. And if a few of those posts go viral, who knows who sees it outside this space? Yeah, I think I understand the pushback and what the why and what people don't like about Kaito. And I was kind of saying it like tongue in cheek. I don't think it's a coincidence that the price is up 50% in the last day. I think people are starting to realize that it's more than just this info-fi. It's more than just a meta. I think it's
for passive income. It's for passive income. They're like, if I stake or I have the NFT, I'm able to claim passive income from Kaito. Now, I'm not saying, like, you could say what you want about the token. It's not about the token price that I'm saying one way or the other. I'm saying staking Kaito and having the NFT means that you're just collecting airdrops. It's like a passive income play for all of Kaito's partners, which is a really smart play by Kaito. I agree with, by the way, again, I think that Kaito, I've said before, it's a great marketing tool. And I also was laughing because Musty was like, basically, like, Austin said it's not a fit, which is like, fuck y'all, which is like, he's right. Like, Austin, like, is very, like, buttoned up in the way he does things in a lot of ways. And he obviously plays the DGen streets, but he handles himself, and it is a compliment, in a very, like, thoughtful way when he answers questions. And I think it's not a fit is about as close as he'll say to fuck y'all, right? But I do think when you take that out of it, I actually think your point, Cap, is actually really good because it's not a fit for DOOD, I think. But it probably is a fit for DreamNet because you're going to get people, like, one, who are going to be the top leaderboard people. DreamNet's going to require, it sounds like, a lot of participation. If it's going to require a lot of participation, that means the top people are probably going to be Doodles community holders who are going to do pretty well for themselves. And it might bring in other people, to your point, who want to actually talk about the platform and change their mind on it. I actually think Kaito as a marketing tool is a fit for a DreamNet versus a DOOD drop, whereas the DOOD drop is a great reward for the community. And if they do something like that, it would show some pretty strategic thinking in that this product, that everybody's conventionally using isn't the right thing for this, but it's the right thing for this. And I could see it working like that. And so I think you're right. I think that DreamNet on some variation of DreamNet on Kaito will be really interesting use of marketing dollars. I think it's a good call.
I think so. We'll see. But yeah, I'm really actually upset with myself for not picking an NFT up on the dip. because I've been saying this for long. I mean, you even said it. Like, it might be the best cow of the cycle. I've been saying this forever. I have some Kaido staked, not a ton, but a couple thousand Kaido staked. I've been talking about, I got my chance and I just didn't pull the trigger. And now I'm not, because I don't buy rips. So I need to wait for the next dip. But I am, it is something new. Like it's fully acknowledging all the pushback. Can it be gamed? Sure. It's just, I think there's really something here. And I think I don't think we've seen the end product yet either. I think they're continuing to cook. And sorry to derail us from the dude conversation. For as bad as the market is, market's not even bad. That's the crazy thing. Bitcoin's almost at 100K again. It's just this space of active traders is in, I feel like, the most aggressive take profit mode we've ever been in, from my perspective in the time I've been here. It's just like, it's really difficult to see new stuff capture real momentum. It just, I don't know. Maybe they get through that initial wave of sell-offs and then it just. But I think to do that, it's going to be DreamNet driven, and I do think they've crushed the marketing push for Dude Drop. And so, I'm not saying they need Kaido for DreamNet. I think it could be a good partnership.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll get Mostly back in here in a second. But I would agree. I think that, man, I think that there is a very real, I don't know. I think there's a very real opportunity there. And I don't think, I think understanding the usage of that product matters. And I also think the piece that you said about being the most aggressive financialized sell-off that we've had since I've been here is something I have very, very handily noticed as well myself, because I even saw Whale ask a question this morning, is a project success in Web3 based on its ability to reward its community? It's the entitlement we have of deserving things in Web3 for using shit. It's nice we do, but the model goes from you get paid to be a beta tester to I deserve something because I clicked 4 buttons is wacky. And it's and respectfully, I'm not saying this, Musty's on stage didn't send the doodle into space because I know you struggled, you tried, but it's they told you a year ago, send your doodle to space is going to matter. A year later, it mattered. And people are well, why aren't you giving an allocation to pudgy penguins? It's I don't know, man. I guess they could have had a platform. If they did, I would have said in the platform a year ago, they should have given people the option to launch their NFTs into space. Maybe not through a contract, but through a soft staking mechanism, right? If they really want to do that, or I don't know. But the fact that they basically took, that's a dumb idea because it wouldn't affect Doodle's floor price at all, which is part of the staking. But you get the idea. If they asked the other communities to participate in some way, and they did, and they get an airdrop, great. But that's what they do here. That's what makes sense. And I think the aggressive nature of how people are trying to make money in a dog-eat-dog market has never been more apparent in that. And again, I have a whole thesis on how this happened, and it happened slowly. But I talked about Pixelvault the other day going from, staking for fractional ownership shares of punks with really cool IP by a guy who used to work at Marvel and, DC showing you, and Mad Magazine or whatever, showing you really cool art, to we've got 330,000 planets, which create individual DAOs. And if you burn them and stake them and crush them into dust, and by the way, if you burn your punks comic, you can keep one or burn it or stake it or sell it. Oh, this is going to get you a meta hero pass. And it's just guys, what are we doing here? You took really cool tech you were working on and changed it to something that it's not. And I think it just goes across the board, ad infinitum in every NFT project, where everything's become, it's gone from I think we underestimate that there are cool builders who are trying to build cool shit. And the example I was going to use yesterday in a positive way, look at G-Money. G-Money knows who his brand is, luxury fashion. They have a loyalty rewards program. They use cool blockchain mechanics, and they don't go around trying to change things for the Web3. They say, we're building cool fashion, take it or leave it. It's connected fashion, take it or leave it. We build on the blockchain, take it or leave it. And that's it. Hey, we're doing Rolexes with a special band. It's probably a $40,000, $50,000 drop they're doing there. I can't afford it, but they know who their audience is. They know who their brand is. They stick to it, and they understand it. And it's not an overly financialized play comparatively to what a lot of people are doing. And I think we've lost the idea of G-Money is a great example of using innovation. G-Money didn't need to do shit. He had a bunch of punks and things that he could have sold off and just left and called it a day. He's building a company and building a brand and using the technology. And I think that we underestimate the importance of that sort of thing. So
Rec Drink's another one. Rec Brand's another one. Doing the same. I actually DM'd with OSF. We're going to get him on the show here. They've got a big announcement today. And again, building a real company. He mentioned his goal is to ship 1 million units this year, which would match Red Bull in their first year. And the way they've incorporated loyalty rewards and incentives, and that's created this flywheel of referrals. It's just like, it's a drink company leveraging blockchain technology and doing it very well. And most of the people, like, minus those that are in OSF's closed circle, I haven't seen a single KOL talk about it. Why is that? Why do
Because it's not like it's the tech. It's like the tech and the finance and a building a business. I mean, also wanted to comment on this real quick before I answer that and we go back to Musty here. It's like, Payne said, in fairness, every project says staking matters in the war room. Von Frenton says, Doodles said launch your Doodles over a year ago. Doodles said participation is alpha for the past year. They told you what to do. They followed up on it. More teams should do that. Every person I know who is ripping packs, launching into space, and using Doodles is happy with their airdrop right now and happy with the direction it's going, regardless if it's a 100 million market cap or it's a $500 million market cap. I shared someone's potential allocation who's like, I wouldn't say a whale. I wouldn't even necessarily say a dolphin, but certainly not a shrimp in the ecosystem, right? But somebody who's probably maybe a dolphin in the ecosystem. And I shared their airdrop allocation with them, and they're like, I'm happy at all of those numbers. So they're happy with that pay. It's like, so I think like, they are rewarding participants, which is what you are supposed to do. I may steal that Von Fronten for a tweet today. I may absolutely steal something of some variation of that, because that's sort of a good synthesis of and a good summary of everything I've been trying to say this morning so far. Before we get into actual real builders building, let's go ahead and get Musty back in here. Musty, get back in.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say before, but I guess, thanks for having me up here. Doodles token on Friday. If you don't own a Doodle, just buy one when the floor takes a shit. Don't go to the Discord, though. It's one of the worst places I've ever seen. Somebody please fix it and remove all the fucking, retards that are in there. Thanks, boys. I
actually have a feeling about Discords and disruptors in Discords. Actually, it's funny. I have this like hot take, and I've gotten into debates over this with people. I think that Discord moderation policy should be a little bit tighter, and not that you should be running some non-free speech, but it's like, if somebody comes in and shits on the vibes every single time something's going downward, then you should give them a warning. You should give them a push off. And I'm not above like giving people like timeouts that go for 24 hours, timeouts that go for a week. When I was at the Starbucks Odyssey Discord, I had to give people, timeouts and things that happen for long periods of time, because it's just, it's if you're being disruptive anytime and it's intentionally disruptive every time people are having a positive interaction, I actually am pro Discord moderation. And if there are people who are like that, I think they need to be dealt with. I think, and I think people will be like, oh, it's free speech or it's suppressing speech. If every time there's a positive moment, someone comes in to tell you why it sucks, and not in the way Musty does. Musty's given us like a little bit of, perspective on things, but there are people who come in and people who know who they are in the Doodles Discord, especially like a Deep Blue Steve comes in and just starts going, causing the vibes. The regular community members feel bullied. They don't want to hang out in there. It's like, you should be trying to curate a vibe in your Discord. You should want it to be the place that people come to hang out. And yes, have good discussions, but, and it's not specific to Doodles. I think Discords in general, I think it's important to be keeping an eye on discourse in that way. And whether it's getting a little out of control, but yeah, like I think like, will it inevitably potentially take the floor play? Sure. But like and maybe I'll be a buyer down there. I think Musty's right. I think a lot of people are going to try to buy rare dudes, which is bullish for Doodles. It means people want to own them. So, in fact, again, like, we saw our guys Doomers who has his rare. We saw Dunk Cookie who has his rare. Like, a couple of friends in there. Dunk Cookie with the GM here has a Skelly rare. Like, people like the Doodles rares. The rares are awesome. So that's a good thing. I think that's bullish for Doodles. So I don't know. What is your I don't know. The other thing I'll say on this, and then like we can probably start winding down, cover any cleanup, and go from there. I do have an important 11 o'clock meeting I probably got to prep for. Is I think people only want, like, I've noticed this on my timeline. If I talk about the dude token, my tweets will cook. If I talk about ways that the technology can fundamentally change the world, crickets. I think that people are very financially motivated on X, and I think that that's what tends to do the most volume. And I think that that's the world we're living in. And I think, to your point, like, that's why we don't hear about rec drinks. That's why we don't hear about, G Money's plays, you know, even though he's running this fashion brand that a lot of people wear. I think people just care about the money less than they care about the tech overall. I think there's a group of people who do, but it's much smaller. But it's one of the reasons why I'm never going to be a top CT Kaido leaderboard person, because I don't go for that type of content, which I'm not knocking those who do. But I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to do a thread that's like, here's Frank D. Gods. He had it all. What happened on the rise and fall of a founder thread? And then just like have a whole bunch of information about someone I've, you know, met like 4 times in my life. That's what's cooking right now. It's just not my jam. So I don't know. That's my thoughts.
I'm now starting to have FOMO over selling my dude drop. I'm definitely not going to sell it all at this point.
It hasn't even happened. It hasn't even happened, Kev.
I want this. I just want to see it. I want to see the shorts all get liquidated. Every KOL that shorts dude, I want to see them get liquidated, and then we proceed. I think it could be a not only entertaining, but I think it really could be like a pivotal moment in terms of setting up attention for DreamNet, right? Like if this DreamNet can be successful if the dude token drop is a flop. DreamNet can also not be successful if the thing comes out and flies to $1 billion market cap tomorrow. So they're not directly correlated. But if the dude drop goes well, I think it might change the opinions of some of these KOLs in regards to how they might be viewing DreamNet and just this Doodles team and as a whole. Because if and I know it hasn't even happened yet, so we're jumping ahead a little bit, but in the days leading up to drop, I think they're moving and executing about as good as we've seen any of these big teams coming from an NFT standpoint leading up to their token drop.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see. By the way, I just want to like give love to our community. By the way, like I love the Coffee with Captain community. You talk about like quality over quantity type things. Cool Chicken here saying, I'm excited. I qualified for the drop. Couldn't afford a doodle, but bought a few packs in the app. So they're rewarding people who participate in their ecosystem. Like all these people who are like saying like you should reward other communities. If they bought packs, they're getting something.
That's exactly it. They're not randomly rewarding other communities. Other communities who participated and bought some packs along the way, they're getting rewarded. Like you don't have to hold a doodle, but you had to support them in some way along the way. Like that's just like I even see like Cool Chick in the chat. Oh my god, I do get some because they again bought some packs. Like that's how they should do it, in my opinion.
I agree. And I see a Rare Ed saying, I just want to see Doodles win with DreamNet. So it's like just rooting for him, even though Rare Ed's obviously a Pangu king of kings and is theirs. Like I want to see him win with, DreamNet. Bucci saying quality content on X is only valuable if it's a reflection of who you are. The brand is the reason those threads on Frank or blah, blah, blah topics keep landing on feeds. Looking forward to heads down research this summer once the semester ends, sharing my findings. And that's it. Like because I had a couple busy things and some life stuff get in the way. I haven't put out like sort of different articles that I'm working on perfecting on stuff, but it's like, I just want to see quality, cool content, and I don't care where it comes from or how it comes. I just want to see cool quality content. And I think we have an opportunity to get there on X in the future. But I think right now we're in this financialization stage, and I'm hoping that the two can be coupled moving forward, but then ultimately down the line, you can create markets for both. But yeah, I mean, that's the alpha. The ultimate take on this, I think they nailed the drop. I think if partner communities want to participate, your chance was buying packs, which was very easy and very accessible to everybody through massive partnerships. It also would have been a way to support Web3, by the way. And it was fun. It was good. And you would be receiving a drop right now. So I think that it's a fair point. And I think everybody who did that is going to be rewarded. And I think they did a good job on it. So shout out to the Doodles team for crushing this one.
Yeah. And I know you got it out here. We've got probably some closing stuff to power through. There's some stuff going on in SWE. I saw some more headlines. Riot Games, maybe. We'll come back to that tomorrow.
Yeah, Riot Games is I saw they had a base partnership, but I haven't dug in super deep on that one. So, like you said, probably worth digging into when we have a little bit more information on that one to really kind of go into it. But yeah, no, what other cleanup do we have? What other we missed this morning?
Thanks to Crypto Captain Dad Pants, we finally got my long awaited, highly anticipated. I know you've got these postcards or letters in the mail at times where it's like, hey, you're eligible for this class action lawsuit. You could collect, $1.87. Just do this, and this. The long anticipated, and I will be absolutely submitting on this one, is the $10 million DraftKings NFT class action settlement.
Everyone trying to get that 16 cents.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it ends up being 16 cents, but 10 million is not it's not nothing. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. We also had I pinned that post from Captain Dad Pants up top. He's coming up, so maybe he can fill us in on some details here. We didn't even talk about the Eliza stuff. We talked about these other, not just the packs, but like those that are on Eliza, some of the top traders. I think the Dude's team has done a well thought out and intentful pre-launch, if you will. Another sweet project there with DeLorean Labs. There's been a lot in the news, and just feels like things are really. I feel like we're at the spring is getting wound up part of the cycle, and not even price action. I feel like we're like the Bored Ape Yacht Club drop of this cycle is right around the corner, or like it feels like we're things are just really coming together from a tech standpoint, from a momentum standpoint, and yet a lot of the focus seems to be price action or the runner of the day. It doesn't feel like the collectiveness attention of the space has caught up to where the space has got to. And I don't know. I'm really excited about where we're at. And I think I know they say sell in May and go away, but I don't know. I remain very optimistic for a fun and exciting summer.
Yeah. Captain Dad Pants, so you come up, go ahead and get in here if you want to go DraftKings or any other direction.
Yeah, GM, I'll touch on DraftKings real quick. $10 million. I agree, Captain. I think that is kind of a lot of money, and I'm kind of hoping it's more than 16 cents by the fact that not many people probably participated in DraftKings NFTs, and then much less filed and submitted the claim for this. So I don't know, I'm hopefully there's only like 10,000 people that claim, or maybe even less. And then kind of building off your last point of things are starting to brew. I totally agree with you. I think there's a lot of positive momentum, not only with just like Bitcoin price, but kind of sentiment as well. And it's kind of like rumbling under the ground. I don't think the normies are really hearing it. But one thing I kind of wish we had this cycle that I feel like we don't have, and we had the previous cycle, is more tangible, and maybe not tangible, but built out products that offered kind of that real life connectivity, like VV, Top Shot. I don't know. I just feel like things that people were building in the old cycle they took a lot more time and due diligence and building it out. And things these days are more of just I feel like they know that the shelf life is only going to be 2 weeks to a month, and it's just kind of like a quick get rich scheme because of the way that the market is and the way that people are seeing this space is just like a casino and kind of get rich type thing. So I'm hoping we continue the momentum, and it brings in new builders that want to build something sustainable and not just kind of the quick get rich.
You nailed it. That's what I think. That's what I feel, Steve. I feel we're at a moment where we're really close to another wave of builders coming in and getting excited to build in this space. Whether it's because the tech has improved now to where you don't have to, you can leverage the tech without having to make it look like a crypto company to your users. And this AI stuff is just I think could be a massive, maybe it's not DreamNet, maybe it has, again, nothing to do with it. I feel like we're getting closer and closer to more builders who aren't here starting to take crypto serious again.
That's what you need. Captain Deadpants nailed it. I've been, again, part of my thesis in that whole thing is that why did a bunch of people go to AI? People are like, oh, because crypto's, it's like, no, because it's a horrible environment to build in. We had somebody potentially allegedly fake their own death because they wanted to get out of the space. People were like, oh, it's to pump the token price or whatever. But it's like, there are people who think it's the only way out to disappear and then are terrified for the rest of their life. Like, it's not a good place to be, to build, or to be a leader at all times. And I think that it takes a special type of person. I've said many times, I don't want to run an NFT project. No desire there. And I think it's partially because of the temperature of the space. And I think the point of builders have pivoted. Now, again, blockchain technology isn't as useful as a lot of people thought it was going to be in 2021, and partially because the technical layer hasn't moved on. So we have to acknowledge AI is far more widely and generally purpose applicable than blockchain technology. And the technical layer of it is much easier to plug into now, where it's like you talk to a chatbot versus you have to build an entire infrastructure for your platform and build around that and have all this interoperability. So there's obviously other factors that come into play. But I think the fact of the matter is, it's not people who don't want to come in, build a project with the hope of making a few $1 million and leaving if they're lucky. And if it doesn't go well, they end up with zero. They don't end up making money, and they end up leaving as, getting death threats and fears for their life. Garga talks about people coming up to his house in a van with, it's like, I think that it's a very scary space to participate in times. What's it called? Who was it that just got recently kidnapped again and had a finger cut off before the SWAT team got to him, who was big in crypto? I don't remember who it was in this most recent one.
Someone else in France.
Someone else in France. The Ledger, the guy from the Ledger founder had that happen to him as well. So these are scary places to be. And it's like, I could just build AI and I don't have to worry about a financialized product. So I think the tech coming back and the experimentation coming back is good for the space, and the over financialization is what hurts it the most. So I agree with Captain Deadpants. Any other cleanup?
I'm sure there is, but we'll save it for tomorrow. Good day today. Appreciate everyone who joined the conversation and help us talk through the ETH upgrade and the upcoming DOOD drop. We've moved a special guest who was going to join us today for a little bit. Peter with Board Brewing's got some fun stuff. I think he's going to jump back on tomorrow to get everyone brought up to speed there. And a few other things, but nothing like time sensitive. We can dive into deeper tomorrow. But good stuff today.
Yeah, good stuff. Good conversation. Appreciate everyone who came through. Good discussion, I think, across the board on all things, DOOD token, hitting on the Ethereum upgrade, which appreciate Greg coming up and giving some context on that. Good stuff, man. I'm excited. I feel an energy. It's not just the token drop. I know people think it's just because of the token drop. There is an energy and an excitement around dudes right now that is, it's fun to be part of. And I'm glad that we're experiencing it because I think they deserve it. It's a great team. It's a great, community. And I'm glad they get there. So again, we'll see what happens there. But that said, let's let everyone sail off into their day. Appreciate everyone coming through this morning. We will talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.